Rachel Zegler may have just delivered one of the wildest takes we've seen from a lead actress in a Disney film flop. What was meant to be a modern twist on the classic Snow White fairy tale has turned into a high-profile disaster, both at the box office and in the court of public opinion. Instead of quietly moving on, like most stars would, Zegler is digging in. Her latest comments about the film, the backlash, and the critics have left many people scratching their heads, wondering if she's genuinely out of touch or just completely done playing the Hollywood game. Let's call it what it is. Snow White didn't just underperform, it crashed and burned. Disney invested over $300 million into the film's production, reshoots, and an aggressive marketing campaign, but instead of a fairy tale ending, they got one of the studio's biggest box office flops in recent memory. But it's not just the numbers that are shocking. It's Rachel Zegler's response. Rather than acknowledging the failure or taking a diplomatic approach, she's blaming it all on politics. According to her, the movie didn't flop because it was poorly received. It was targeted. She claims a silent majority loved the film, but were too afraid to say so publicly. And her evidence? The friends and families she personally knows who said they liked it. That's right, because a few people in her inner circle enjoyed the movie. She believes there's a hidden fan base out there that's just too scared to speak up. It's a bizarre argument, and one that gets even stranger. She's now arguing that box office numbers shouldn't define success at all. For her, it's not about who watches the movie or how much money it makes. It's about the story they told. And that's a bold take coming from someone who starred in one of the most expensive flops in Disney history. It's like saying the scoreboard doesn't matter after losing 12-0. At some point, the results have to count. Then came her comments about the source material. Zegler has made it clear she's proud the film moved away from the original Brothers Grimm story and the 1937 Disney classic. In her words, they had to change it. Everything from the tone to the meaning of fairest of them all was rewritten to fit a modern woman's narrative. And to her, that mission was accomplished, even if almost no one came to see it. But here's the issue. She's not just defending her creative choices, she's framing the entire backlash as some anti-progress movement. According to her, Snow White was a misunderstood gem, unfairly attacked because it embraced diversity and inclusion. But the truth is, the criticism came from all sides. Audiences thought the film looked cheap, felt off, and strayed way too far from what made the original beloved. This wasn't about politics. It was about quality. What rubbed people the wrong way even more were her bold, almost arrogant statements. At one point she asked, "So what if we shifted away from the source material?" As if audiences were just being stubborn for wanting something familiar. And when DEI criticism arose, she doubled down again, saying, "Diversity should be the #1 priority, and storytelling should come second." That line alone ignited a firestorm. Because while diversity matters, most people believe story and character should drive the experience, not be secondary. Her stance made it sound like traditional storytelling was outdated, and that progressiveness should override everything else, including the audience's enjoyment and even financial return. No one's saying she can't be proud of her work. But what she delivered wasn't just a defense. It was a direct attack on the people who didn't like the film. She accused the audience of being biased, the critics of having agendas, and claimed the box office failure was proof the world isn't ready for what she and the filmmakers tried to do. That's not defending your art. That's rewriting reality, and Hollywood seems to be noticing. Rachel Zegler's career momentum has taken a hit. Instead of headlining major blockbusters, she's now turning to indie projects with limited budgets and releases. One upcoming film, despite having Marisa Tomei attached, is barely making waves and will only show in select theaters. The drop-off is clear. Just a year ago, Zegler was seen as one of the next big stars. Now, she's making headlines for the wrong reasons. And yet, she's not backing down. Every new interview, every bold quote adds fuel to the fire. Clips go viral, memes spread, and public opinion continues to shift. Meanwhile, Disney is doing what it can to quietly walk away. The film is expected to land on Disney Plus this summer, with little fanfare, just a soft drop and move on. But Rachel, she's still out there, standing by every choice, insisting Snow White was a success on her terms. She even tried to redefine what success in cinema means, saying that financial performance shouldn't matter if the message is right. That may be true for an indie short film or an experimental piece, but not for a $300 million Disney tentpole with global expectations. And industry insiders weren't silent either. From the moment early clips leaked, people were skeptical. The tone was off. The attitude during press tours felt dismissive. And Zegler's own interviews, where she criticized the original classic, made it feel like she wasn't just reinventing the character. She was mocking what came before. She treated the past like it needed fixing. And when people pushed back, she treated them like they were the problem. The result? One of the most talked about collapses in recent film memory. And Zegler isn't just caught in the middle, she's at the center of it, microphone in hand, telling everyone why they're wrong. Rachel Zegler thought she was rewriting history, but what she ended up doing was writing herself into one of the most shocking PR disasters Hollywood has seen in years. After the colossal failure of Snow White, you'd think any star would take a step back, breathe, reflect, maybe let the storm pass. But Rachel, she went the other way. Instead of humility, she responded with fire. And now, the flames are burning hotter than ever. She didn't just defend the film, she attacked the audience, called those who boycotted it anti-art, labeled critics agenda-driven, and worst of all, dismissed parents and families. People who simply didn't connect with her vision as enemies of progress. It was a move so bold, it wasn't just off-putting. It was self-sabotage. Because here's the truth. You don't win people back by belittling them. Zegler kept insisting that Snow White was for the modern woman. But what she failed to understand is that modern women aren't a single voice. There are millions of different stories, values, and beliefs. Rewriting a fairy tale and adding buzzwords like empowerment doesn't give you the right to speak for all of them. Audiences didn't reject Snow White because of diversity. They rejected it because it felt hollow, preachy, and disconnected from the magic they loved. It wasn't bold. It was condescending. It wasn't modern. It was confused. Meanwhile, Disney finds itself in an impossible position. They can't publicly call Zegler out. That would cause a different media explosion. But behind closed doors, insiders say the damage is already done. Executives now reportedly regret ever keeping her on board after the backlash began. Not because she lacked talent, but because her presence turned toxic. Studios are realizing something brutal. It's not just about acting anymore. It's about optics, public image, trust. And right now, Zegler's name doesn't sell tickets. It pushes people away. Her next project? A quiet, low-budget indie film. No major studio, no big release, no red carpet, just a whisper of her former star power. It's a shocking fall from grace for someone once hailed as the face of the next generation. What happened? Simple. The interviews, the quotes, the tone. She mocked the original Snow White, dismissed beloved characters like Prince Charming, and spoke like she was doing audiences a favor by rewriting a story that shaped generations. Instead of connecting with fans, she lectured them. Instead of showing humility, she doubled down. And that's the real tragedy here. Not the box office numbers, not the memes, but the wasted opportunity. Because when you alienate your audience, when you make them feel talked down to instead of inspired, you don't just lose their support, you lose their trust. Even her comments about working with Gal Gadot raised red flags. "It wasn't what I expected," she said vaguely, just enough to spark rumors, just enough to throw shade, but not enough to take accountability. It felt like she was preparing to shift blame. Again, at a time when most actors would have gone quiet, Rachel went louder. She grabbed the mic and declared that DEI should come before story, that box office doesn't matter, that anyone who didn't get the film just wasn't ready for it. And now, she's alone on that hill. The truth is, people do want change. They welcome diversity. They love seeing new faces and fresh perspectives, but not at the expense of story. Not when it feels forced. Not when it becomes a lecture instead of a journey. Zegler seems to think this is still a battle worth fighting, but to most of the world, the fight is already over. The audience moved on. Disney moved on. And all that's left is a fading echo of a film that was supposed to be a triumph and turned into a warning. This isn't just a failed movie. It's a case study in how not to handle a flop. And Rachel Zegler, once the rising star of Hollywood, now stands as a cautionary tale that in this industry, talent might get you noticed, but how you carry that spotlight, that's what makes or breaks you.